And I was thinking that we might just start with the very beginning. So,
When I'm 8 years old.
or even younger. How about? Do you want to explain why you're in a chair?
No. Yeah, I guess.
Why are you in a chair?
I have cerebral palsy from birth. It affects my fine motor coordination in my brain, and that's why I'm in a chair. I'm unable to walk, and
Right.
yeah.
So the way I was told, you were stuck in your mom's birth canal, lost oxygen,
Right.
and there was an accident at birth,
Mhm.
and everything functions well except that you don't have any coordination or
Right.
balance. So,
Exactly.
we've been married for 25 years, and
Together 27.
together for 27. We have 2 kids in college, and they're the best part of us. And when you were a child, and when you were 8, why don't you tell the story about what you did?
My parents read by a camp out in the middle of nowhere, and basically threw me on a bus and said, "Bye-bye, see ya."
Catch you later.
And I went off to camp for a week
Right,
out in the middle of nowhere.
right. And when you went, what was your take? You're on the bus going to someplace you'd never
I
been.
was scared out of my mind because it was out in the middle of nowhere. Really out in the middle of nowhere.
And you were little.
Yeah, eight, and it was in Sierra County, at an elevation of almost 7,000 feet, and it was pretty much a primitive camp experience. We were on the ground, in sleeping bags, and there was basically nothing except a toilet and a makeshift shower.
And so you got there scared.
Yeah.
And then what happened? You got a lay of the land. You met your counselors. You met the kids.
And
You were
loved
out.
it.
You were out in the wilderness, and what
Loved every second.
light went on? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the story that you told me is that it's in that place somehow. You, a kid with a disability, and the wilderness. There's something that combined, the disability and the wilderness piece combined, and you had a new way of looking at your entire life. Yeah.
Yeah, it was life-changing experience. It taught me what I could do, and it opened up so many doors for me mentally. Not so much physically, but mentally. I knew I could do basically whatever I wanted to do.
Somehow nature did that for you.
Yep.
And you've never really, it seems, you've never really been able to put your finger on that. Is that right? Don't know.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's. I really don't know.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think, well, it seems like, fast forward and we'll get back to it, but it seems like for the kids that I have witnessed in now 18 years of having our own camp, it seems that the kids get to our camp, they look around, they're in the wilderness like you were,
Right.
and it seems like the counselors, the fellow campers, and the wilderness combines to turn a light bulb on for them. Tell me if this is right. A light goes on, and they are able in nature to say, this is who I really am. I've been coddled my whole life, potentially. I've dealt with people who don't have disabilities my whole life, but here I am in all the wonder of nature and my true peers. And here I am able to be who I really was intended to be. Does it have something to do with that?
No. It's more like I'm going to camp, I'm living out under the stars, I'm sleeping outside, I'm doing normal things that able-bodied people do on a regular basis, and they get the extreme.
You get to do what other people do every day, kind of thing.
But they get the extreme version, because not a lot of kids sleep outside.
True.
Not a lot of kids sleep in their bag under the stars.
On a cot,
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique experience.
And you start to think, okay, if I'm doing this, I can do other stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay. All right. So that's amazing. So you go to camp out of Great Eagle in California. You go to camp until you turn 18, and then what'd you do?
Then I got kicked out.
Why?
I got kicked out for being too old. And
you weren't a bad boy.
I got kicked out.
You aged out.
I got kicked out for being too old. I went up to college, got an environmental engineering degree from Davis, way before environmental engineering was a thing. It just happened to be something I'm extremely interested in, and graduated and then moved to San Diego.
Where in San Diego?
Coronado.
And what happened in Coronado?
I bet you.
And
I got a job, a normal job, and hated every second of it because there was a corporate cubicle on just a number kind of job, and it just I was
you
done.
were working in your career, but it wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah.
So we very quickly fell in love, got married, had 2 kids, and you were still an environmental engineer, and our kids were little bitty. They're now 20 and 21.
3 and 2.
But they were 2 and 3 at the time. And what you came to me and said, what?
I'm done.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm finished being an environmental engineer, and instead I'm going to
move on.
Move on. And do what?
Open a camp for the exact same purpose that I went to camp. But it was, I think, our camp is a little bit more structured, a little bit more about the environment, about nature, about learning about your surroundings.
The camp you created.
Yeah. And it's more about
structured
outdoor education, a little bit more structured, but it still has a lot of fun.
Right. So what you did is you went to the owners of the land where you had been a camper as a child.
Right.
And you said to them,
are you interested, and can I open a camp again? And they said, absolutely, as long as you pay for it. So in 2002, we started raising money, and in 2004 we opened up camp again at the same location I was a camper way back when, and we're operating camp until 2014, and everything was exactly the way I remember it as a kid, but as I said before, a little bit more structured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we welcomed our first campers, and it was incredible.
Yep.
And then we had camp year after year after year, and it was just wonderful. Now, backtracking a second, when you were the camper, when you were a kid yourself, and camping, as a camper, like I said, some of the kids had intellectual disabilities,
Correct.
and you don't have an intellectual disability.
No. Mostly.
Our kids might argue. but you said that you felt unqualified to have kids at our camp that were intellectually disabled because it was it's such a remote place, and that's not your area of expertise. So you,
I just wanted camp to be a more of a stepping stone, if you will, to bigger thing, and people, and I don't want to discriminate, but people with mental disabilities are.
They just have a different path.
Yeah, different path.
Yeah, a good path. Viable path.
I'm about getting a job, getting married, buying a house, having a normal, so-called normal, or whatever that is, normal,
so you
normal life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you wanted kids who could see what you had seen for yourself as a child, and you wanted our camp to parlay their lives as much, and you wanted them to follow the path that was meant for them without any stumbling blocks that happened to be a physical disability.
Correct.
Right. So
I want them to go to college.
If that's their plan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I want the camp is here to push the kids to want to go on to
pursue their dreams.
Bigger, better things.
Pursue really viable dreams, again, disability and all.
Right.
Having that not be an impediment. Okay, so we have camp for, 7 years, and you start to get restless. We both did, right? We had good funding. We had tremendous support in San Diego, a pocket of tremendous support in San Francisco, and then here and there across the country, people had heard about us a little bit. But you got restless, right?
I think you got restless.
I got restless too.
No,
we wanted more for our foundation. We wanted more for kids with disabilities.
I wanted more kids to experience camp. I wanted more kids to understand that there's more than just your disability, and you can have a big life.
So what'd you do, crazy?
What'd
you do, nutty?
Decided to climb El Cap.
Right. Yep, you decided to climb El Capitan because, number one, you had talked to these kids year after year about doing hard things and going for it, but I watched it. You wanted to put your money where your mouth was. Mm-hmm. And you wanted to not just blah, blah, talk about it. You wanted to demonstrate.
But I wanted to do a challenge that wasn't me not exerting myself physically. I mean, there's a lot of people that go across the country in their wheelchair and
you could have gone across country in your electric wheelchair, and it wouldn't have meant anything to you.
Raise money, and that wouldn't have meant anything.
Okay, so
because it wasn't me doing that.
Right, you wouldn't have been exerting yourself. So you couldn't have gone for a normal mountain.
No. No.
So El Capitan in Yosemite is the biggest rock face in the world.
Right.
And what happened?
I happened to be in the valley for in 2009, just by chance, and said, okay, that's what I need to do. And I went back to the campfire that night, and Dave and Tommy, that turned out to be my lead climbers. I went to them and said, what would it take to climb El Cap?
So just to explain who Tommy and Dave are, you were on a trip in Yosemite. There were two guys that happened to be there that you knew were very experienced mountaineer.
Along with Mark Wilman, who was the first disabled
climber of El Cap.
Yeah.
So you just happened to meet these two guys, and you said, what will it take for me to do this?
Right. And they both looked at me and go,
good luck.
I don't know.
Well, okay, so
no idea.
So to backtrack a second about your physical specifics, your physical disability specifically, you can't use your legs.
No.
they move and they work and the muscles work, but
I can't stand.
Can't stand because you don't have the balance to stand. Your right hand is pretty good.
Yep.
And your left hand,
it's not good.
We call it lefty. With
good
your left hand, you can literally do two things.
Grasp and pull. Right.
So you're starting to formulate this thought in your head. You're like, I can't swim the English Channel because I can't swim because I don't have the balance.
I hate water.
You hate water because you'll drown. But I can pull. Like you were thinking of lefty. You said I can.
I'm strong in both arms. I am like.
You have strength.
Why not?
Right. Okay, so you thought to yourself, you had an epiphany, and you thought, this is, holy cow, this is something I can do. And you didn't want to do a little mountain. You said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. So you thought, so you slowly started to contemplate that El Cap was going to be what it was going to be. And I remember at the time you said, give me a couple of months, I'm thinking about this. And you told me what it was.
You can't say a word.
Don't say a word.
And you didn't say a word, thank God.
Sometimes hard for me. But I didn't. I was good. And I didn't say a word. And then because you didn't want to commit and then disappoint yourself, disappoint other people, and not do it. So you essentially climbed El Capitan.
I started working out and getting back into shape, and over 18 months, prepared for the climb and was doing 3,000 pull-ups a day in the gym
for 18 months.
The climb, and then climbed El Cap.
How long did it take you?
6 days.
How many pull-ups did you do?
About 20,000.
What did you sleep on? What did that look like?
Portaledge on.
Which is what?
It's basically a cot without legs.
Right.
On the side of the cliff.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult was that climb for you?
11.
11? I thought you were going to say like 4 billion.
No, 11.
Uh-huh. And so on the 6th day you summited. On the 4th day, that was your hardest day, and you hallucinated. You were
passed out.
You passed out.
Dehydrated.
Do you remember that day?
Not that well.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever climb again?
No.
What if someone offered you $10 million?
No. No.
What if I asked you nicely?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Totally done.
Totally done. And it has been 10 years.
Yep.
Just had your 10-year anniversary last week of your summit. And thankfully, you're safe and you're fine. And it has brought us more to our foundation than we could have ever in a billion years hoped for.
Yep.
Right? And the good news is that kids all over the world heard about what you had done. And
probably hundreds of thousands of
Yeah. 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 And so,
And down the movie just came out on Amazon Prime
Wampler's Ascent is out on Amazon Prime.
about 5 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
April.
in a nutshell, that's our story.
Yeah. So here we sit.
Here we sit, birds in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So you want questions then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so to continue on just a little bit farther, I love the story about how you came here. Can you add that story in?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Oh, okay.
So you.
So, so now we have this beautiful new property in Soda, Placer County, in Soda Springs, California. And the backstory is that there's a wonderful couple out of Arizona that had watched our movie, and we had met them once in Arizona for about 5 minutes. And fast forward a year, they called us and they said, could we come to San Diego? We want to talk to you. And we said, sure, and had no idea why they wanted to talk to us, but we were happy to see them. And long story short, they said, we have checked you out. We've learned a lot about your foundation. We love your work. We've seen your movie, and essentially we like your work and we want to buy you a new camp. And we were dumbfounded, so ecstatic, and they said, go find the land and we'll buy it for you.
Yeah.
And so that in a nutshell is why we have this beautiful 129 acres. Our lake is 9 acres, and we have 18 buildings, and it has been the journey of a lifetime to welcome kids to this camp.
Yeah.
It's just been a dream beyond measure, and
It's unreal.
yeah,
Unreal.
it's unreal.
So Stephen, could you tell us a little bit more about what happened between day 4 and day 6 and how you were able to make it to the top?
Day 4 was
Horrendous.
yeah. That's the day that you wanted to talk, give me a pep talk.
Right.
And I'm like, no
Nope.
no pep
No,
talk.
thank you.
No. And I just was so focused in on
In the zone.
what I had to do that day that I just said I can't talk to anyone. And basically on that day I was just, it was not fun.
You were beyond tired, beyond dehydrated, starving.
Yeah, and hanging 45 feet off the rock walk in midair.
So you had been the
About-
previous days just going straight up, but on
Give
this,
or take. Yeah, give or take.
but
And
on
then
this day there was
there was an overhang that had to go out and up and over the overhang. It was a 45-foot space between the rock and me. And I'm like, this is way beyond what I signed up for.
and you almost quit twice on that day, right?
I wouldn't say I was quit.
Well, you contemplated it, right?
Well,
Was it both? You said you.
it entered my mind, but I'm like, how the hell am I going to get out of here?
Yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah. So I was already committed.
Right. And at that time, I knew that you wouldn't listen to me, nor did I expect
Right.
you to. You would, but I had our 2 little kids on the ground, thinking this is too big. I, if I'm honest, wished not anymore, but in retrospect, not at all. But it just felt so dangerous and so awful that I would have asked you to come down.
Well, I wouldn't have felt that. So I got over, it took me like 3 hours to climb like 200 feet in midair. And I got up and over the top. I'm like so spent and so dehydrated that I had to stop and wait for my next pitch to get lined up on the rock. And I've been sweating so much, and the wind came up, and I went to hypothermic shock, and that's when I passed out. And I just don't really remember much after that.
Wow.
But you did it.
Yeah.
You finished that fourth day,
Finished
which
that day, they reassessed the whole thing, and they said, well, tomorrow you need to rest. We'll only do a small chunk tomorrow. And then on the last day, you'll have like that much more to go, but we'll get to the top.
so what happened is they added an extra day.
Yeah.
So that you
which
could have two.
really irritated the crap out of me. Oh, I was pissed. Because I only mentally prepared for 5.
But they knew what they were talking about. It just made you mad.
Oh, I was furious.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and so for the viewers who want to see more of this, there is a film called Wampler's Ascent,
on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
and it's on Amazon Prime
Right.
and other places.
Right.
And so, Elizabeth, can you just give us a little bit about being the director of,
Sure.
of this?
So, we had hired a company to make this film for us, and it was our intention to open up our life and show, tell the story of this guy with a pretty profound disability who is a husband and a father, and we wanted to tell that story with the climb being the biggest, the character in the story too.
And The Rock.
The Rock. And so we hired this company, and they had 212 hours of raw footage. And when we got the final product back, when we got the movie in our hand, the finished movie, it was a rock climbing movie. It wasn't the story of a family. It was a different tale, and it was fine, but it's not the story that we wanted to tell. So Stephen and I were on a walk, and we had this footage. The footage belonged to us, and I thought, that's not our story. And so I thought of those 212 hours, and I thought, what I'm going to do is whittle down the footage and tell the story that we want to tell. And so that's what I did. I took out a majority of the 212 hours and whittled it down to 77 minutes, and had a technical guy who was a storyteller who sat with me and moved pieces around, and I moved pieces around, and we made it into what we intended, which was I think it's a touching family story, and I don't know anybody that hasn't cried, but when people explain the movie and their opinion of it, they say they're not crying because they're sad, it's just they're feeling a lot. And so that's what I wanted. And at one point when I was making the movie, I had our 10-year-old bring all these little boys, also 10-year-olds, and sit in our front yard and watch the movie on an outdoor projector. And what I did is I sat behind them and I watched these little boys watch the movie. And I was taking notes, and when those little boys wiggled, I knew they were bored. And so that's when I thought, I got to tweak this and this and change this piece of the movie. And then I would take it back to my friend who was helping me with it, and we worked it from that. So there was no sophistication to it. I don't want to do it again, but that's how we did it. Yeah.
And then I started submitting it once it was done to film festivals
all over the world. Because we thought that's what you did. Okay, we've done this.
I had no idea what I was doing.
No.
I was just submitting a film to a film festival.
So he climbed the rock without just thinking, okay, I'm going to climb this rock, and then I thought I'll just try to move pieces out of the movie to make the movie that we want. And then with the film festivals, it was the same thing. We're like, I guess you're supposed to put it in film festivals, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do. And so there's
And
nothing.
so I submitted to 100 film festivals. It got picked up by 55. And won.
We won awards in 38.
Yep.
Wow. How about the
Fluke.
Wild and Scenic Film Festival in Nevada City?
I've never heard of that one. Sorry.
Never.
Well, now you have.
Ah!
So we,
That
Is
one
it
more
too
to
late
do.
to submit?
One more to do.
so
One
we-
more, done.
we
We'd be
won-
thrilled.
We won the Yosemite Film Festival.
Yeah.
The
Beverly Hills. Yeah. So that was a wild ride. That was fun,
It's
fun.
That was 4 years of flying all over.
Yeah. It was the little engine that could
it was
movie.
amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we took our kids out of school and did an adventure with them, and
Yep.
they homeschooled for a little while, which
It sucked.
that was terrible. Terrible.
Stephen, I have
Yeah.
one more question for you, and I want to know about the people that assisted you, and
Yeah.
what your relationship was and how that felt.
I got to know Tommy during the 6 days really. No, I got to know Tommy over 18 months because he was in San Diego, close by, so we trained once a week for a year and a half. But Dave, I didn't meet more than twice, and Dave was very, very apprehensive about the whole thing.
Dave was scared
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
He was scared that he wasn't capable of protecting you.
Right.
Yeah. And at one point off camera, and I should have put it in the film, and I don't know why I didn't, but he was intimating that it was too much for him to have taken on, and that he didn't know if he could finish it because
Yeah.
he was too nervous about Stephen.
Yeah.
He was too nervous, and you could see it kind of throughout. You can see it throughout the
But
movie.
after day 3,
He got over it.
yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, as much as it was turned out to be a family film, it also was a climbing film too.
Mm-hmm.
And the scenes of the amount of equipment that it took, and Dave leading the way with incredible ropes and
Oh,
all the climbing equipment in order to enable you to climb
Yeah.
it by yourself.
The equipment alone.
The
Yeah.
equipment alone. So
yeah. And then what you didn't see is the 16 film crew, the guys that were all the way around me.
Off camera.
It was unreal, but
You didn't see that.
yeah.
So there were guys that were these elite athletes who would just climb the mountain like it was nothing, just to carry batteries up and down the mountain, and like it was nothing.
Take footage up and down, and it was there was so much going on all the time. It was unreal.
Yeah. Well, but yeah. It was very involved. It was
Yeah.
very involved. So
they did an excellent job.
Yeah.
From watching the footage that they had, the raw footage, you had a lot to work with.
Yeah, our head cinematographer, who again was just somebody we stumbled upon, is the best of the best of the best. His name is Corey Rich, and he is the Nikon ambassador to the United States, and he's world renowned. And again, another fluke, another thing that happened not of our expertise or anything. It was just an accident, happy accident. He's the best. So, yeah.
Can we go back to the camp a little bit?
Yeah.
How many counselors do you have, and are they
Okay.
trained?
Yeah, good question.
The counselors are a one-on-one ratio, camper to counselor. So every camper has a counselor assigned to them for the 6-day period they're at camp. And we recruit most of our counselors from the universities in like Sac State, Chico State,
Big batch
Washington
from
or
East Washington.
Yeah, Eastern
Yeah.
Washington. It's just nursing students, outdoor
Recreation therapists. Yeah.
and
And they're very, very, very thoroughly trained. They're number one. They've got an aptitude
Right.
for this
They
population.
they want to be here.
They want to be here. They're gifted with youth with disability. That's one thing. But then they are trained very deeply, very thoroughly for a week, and then we match them up with their comfort level. So some kids are more profoundly disabled than others, and some of our counselors are comfortable with whatever it is that is needed from them. Some are less comfortable, like in the bathroom setting, situation. So we evaluate both our counselors and our campers, and we evaluate the campers very, very thoroughly. We screen them on many levels over a period of time, and so
everybody gets a background check and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
yeah.
Do you get any support from the independent living centers that are
No,
around?
we do
Not
not.
so far.
We do not do any government money.
They're not government.
Yeah, they're
not-
private
they're
companies.
They're nonprofits
Okay.
through
okay.
everywhere.
Terrific. Yeah.
Perfect.
Not so far.
No.
Yeah, our money comes from corporations, foundations, and individual donors.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and we, one of the first things that Stephen said from day one is that since it's so expensive to raise a child with a disability, he insisted that it not be a burden to the family. So we raise all the money that is required to send a kid to camp. So it's
So
30.
they have
It's
scholarships.
It's about $3,500 per week per child. For,
it's
and that
expensive.
includes everything from insurance and counselors and
Meals and
food
transportation
and
and staff.
Everything.
We have a big staff. We have a big medical staff. We have a doctor on call 24 hours a day and an in-house nurse and nursing students. And so that's a big piece of what we do. Then we have waterfront specialists and nature specialists, arts and crafts specialists, kitchen staff. So it's kind of a big operation during.
It's like anywhere from 70 to 90 people
Here at all
on
times.
property all the time.
And how far away do they
All
travel?
over the United States.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the movie and the publicity around the movie, we now have kids, which has always been a dream of ours, to have kids from all over America and America and beyond. The kid is a kid. We'd be happy to have any child from anywhere, but so far we've never had a kid. We've never had a kid from out of the United States yet, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. We'd love it.
It's like the kid.
Yeah, but it used to be that we hosted kids from California, Arizona, Nevada, mostly California, but now we have kids from everywhere. So that's been thrilling.
And we are now accredited by the American Camping Association.
Which means that every dot is in order, every T is crossed. We have 272 standards that
Checked
exceed
off.
all. So we're very thrilled with that. It wasn't required of us, but we want it to be as good as it can possibly be. So
Great.
yeah.
So when parents are sending their kids to us, they know.
They can rest assured.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave your babe to go off to camp, but a child with a disability, it takes the bravest parents among us,
Yeah.
in my opinion, to be able to do that. It's pretty great. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Have you got videos of the camp itself?
we do.
Yes, we do. They're on our
On our
website,
campwamp.org.
or wampafoundation.org.
Right.
That was so amazing, guys.
Thank you for having us.